Hello and welcome to Round 8 of Grand Prix Providence. Maria Bartholdi in the booth with Marshall Sutcliffe, Mike Sigrist, Alexander Haines, Steve Rubin versus James O'Shaughnessy, Matt Ling, and Derek Campbell. Both teams currently undefeated, sitting at 7-0. Let's check in on Table A, Mike Sigrist versus James O'Shaughnessy, as we kick things off here for Round 8.
Yeah, this is a really important match as well as the next one. These last two of the day to remain undefeated put you in such a better position going into day two than if you pick up even one loss down the stretch here, as you do need a very strong record to make it to the top four in a team GP. And I'll tell you what, things aren't getting easier on game two or day two.
Absolutely
it gets
not.
Rowdy. You're like, oh, good, Peach Garden oath. Okay, there's Eric Froelich. You know, it's just like, you just start running into these buzzsaw teams. And unfortunately for the Ling Campbell O'Shaughnessy team, they've run into one here. Sigrist-Hayne-Rubin are devastating at Team Limited.
Bishop Soldier is the play for Mike Sigrist. We just had a commune with dinosaurs on turn one for James O'Shaughnessy. Was able to find a 3-drop, but he's just going to have to pass back to Sigrist, who tries to get in for 2. Slash of Talons, though, has something to say about that from James, taking down the 2-drop. Passes back to James O'Shaughnessy. And we do know he's got an enraged creature in hand. He found off a commune with dinosaurs, but instead is just going to play a Blossom Dryad and pass the turn back.
That's even scarier. That sets him up for potentially 5 mana as Mike Sigrist has mixed back-to-back land drops here. No plays, and this one is going to slip away from him very quickly.
All right, New Horizons.
Oh, no. New Horizons, and he could combo off, though it looks like he does not have a land drop to hit here, so he's going to have to settle for jamming here. But look at that combo. He can use that Dryad to untap the New Horizons land and produce a whole bunch of mana, but it looks like he's missing a land drop here too.
I actually have yet to see that play, Marshall. That was pretty cool.
Combo. Mike Sigrist has assembled a combo
discard
of having 8 cards in hand and his end step, which turns out doesn't go so well together.
Not exactly what he hoped for here.
No, it's
in
really
round
not.
8.
And there's a 6-drop off of 3 lands. So
insane. Colossal Dreadmaw.
Yeah, and even Mike Sigrist, too, he'll play the percentages, but he knows that given his strategy of small vampire creatures, there's no way he's beating that Colossal Dreadmaw after missing that land drop for that last time.
6/6 Trampler for 6. That's good enough. Certainly impressive there off of only 3 lands. Let's take a peek here at Table B. Alexander Haines versus Matt Ling. Haines off to a pretty quick start here. Looks like a bit of a mirror match. Matt Ling also on blue-black. Wow, just loading up that Stormfleet Spy with the Winds. Talk about putting all your eggs in one basket here, Marshall.
What is going on here? Is he actually going to win this race?
Just hit for 6. Let's see if Haines has any way to interact with that Spy.
I mean, Haines attacking for 5 on his own.
Yeah.
And he was significantly ahead in the race as we came in. It looks like it was 20-14. That attack for 6 knocked Haines down. Oh, my God.
Water Trap Weaver.
Oh, he's going to counter it.
It's been countered.
And he really needed to there, too, because that was game if it resolved.
Absolutely.
Still, I still don't know if he can win this race. He's way behind.
14-9.
Yeah. Like, he's a full turn off. He needs some serious business. Now, the thing is, if he can put down a blocker or two that actually sticks, then, yeah, he can win this race pretty easily. It's just last turn, his whole turn was one with the wind, counter your thing.
Right.
I don't know. God, I thought he tapped blue and a black. I'm like, he doesn't have another one, does he?
Well, this freebooter here might help protect his Stormfleet Spy, as well as he'll be able to take a look at Haines' hand, but Haines has a response. Vanquish the weak.
He's going to vanquish it and say, bye-bye.
Down goes the freebooter. So 2 lands.
Yeah, he does get to see the hand, but it would just come back. But he's got 2 lands in hand anyway.
That is what Ling wants to see.
It is. So if let's just say Ling has nothing in hand, which we know isn't the case, but he looks like he's going to play opt here. He attacks for 6, knocks Haines down to 8. Haines attacks back for 5, knocks him down to 4. Then Ling attacks for 6 more, knocks him down to 2, and then Haines wins. So he doesn't win the race as it sits. He's going to need to do something. But the truth is, it won't take that much to disrupt Alexander Haines' clock. A 3-3 would do nicely, right? Like just as an example. And we know that Alex is out of gas with just 2 lands in hand. So Matt really just needs anything. I mean, a blocker, just any blocker would be fine. Heck, a 1-1 would actually work here.
Stormfleet Spy, no fear, swinging in for another 6 of Haines' life total. Haines here trying to live off the top of his deck. Pirates Cutlass.
That does not actually give him the win on the spot, though.
Does help out his race.
Yeah, it doesn't change his clock, though. It will add to the damage, of course. He's getting in for 2, 4, 6, 7 this turn and knocking Matt down to 2. But with only 2 lands in hand, Matt knows that he's not dying, and he was going to die in 2 turns anyway. The real interesting part is it's given him 2 lethal threats, so now a single blocker from Ling does not get the job done.
Haines swings in, drops Ling down to 2, moves the Pirate's Cutlass back over to the Water Trap Weaver.
Yeah, this has been a really tight little game here.
And
both players racing.
We've talked about how today we've seen this situation play out again and again and again, which is a racing scenario.
It feels like it's just been all we've watched today, doesn't it?
Okay. There's a Blight Keeper.
You got something else? I feel like he needs to affect the board in some other way. I mean, right now he can block the looter and die. He's going to bounce now. No.
Water Trap
my God.
Weaver.
That was perfect. Like, that was probably just game.
Locks down the Weaver for Haines.
Yep. Haines can produce 2 lethal threats, but has to top deck away to get one of these creatures out of the way, even temporarily.
March of the Drowned will be able to tap something down.
Yes, and he has enough mana to equip. That is going to be game.
Taps down, equips.
Ooh,
wow.
That was close. Buddy, right off the top of the library, March of the Drowned for Haines buys him back away to get a creature out of the way. That was absurd.
That was crazy. Alexander Haines taking down Game 1 versus Matt Ling, notching 1 game apiece for our 2 teams here in the feature match area, round 8. No matches decided yet.
Matt's going to be disappointed in that one. He knew that his opponent had nothing and had to find a removal spell. Now, there was probably multiple outs in the deck for Haines, let's be honest.
All right, let's take a look here on our table A, Mike Sigrist versus James O'Shaughnessy, Game 2.
This one looks about as bad in the other direction as it did in the opposite in the first one.
Yeah, Mavrin Fane, Dusk Apostle, in play for Sigrist, has already netted him a couple of vampires.
Yeah, that thing does tend to get out of control. Now, we've seen that James has the type of creatures that can stabilize a board like this, but he does need to find some.
New Horizons was a play there for James. Didn't even get to make good use of that +1/+1 counter. In swings the team for Sigrist, creates another vampire. But he did have something to do with his mana from New Horizons. Slash of Talons will take down Mavrin Fane, leaving 3 1/1 lifelinking vampires in its path. And Sigrist will pass back with 5 open mana.
Suspicious.
It is.
I don't know what he could have here. I mean, there's not. James doesn't even have a board state, so it's not like.
James just passed back.
What in the world is going on here?
All right, in come the vampires for 3.
Neither player's doing anything.
They have cards.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a nice one there for James as well.
What are they both?
Ripjaw Raptor.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Boom. Enrage, when it's dealt damage, draw a card.
I think he might have a Pounce in hand as well. If he does, that works very well with the Ripjaw Raptor.
All right, well, it looks like a Legion's Judgment here for Sigrist.
So if he does have a pounce, we'll see him respond.
Yep, here we go.
It's not really the target. He wants to take out just a random 1/1 vampire, but he gets his card back off of it, so it's probably worth it. He also really needed a creature, because that's why he wasn't able to cast that pounce that whole time.
2 vampires swinging in for Siggy. We'll drop James down to 12. Skyblade of the Legion.
God, really not what Sigrist wanted here.
Gotta say, I've seen way more of that card than I would have expected to this
Yeah,
weekend.
it's an okay magic card. It's just he doesn't want to cast a 2-drop here on turn 10. You know, this is what you want.
Oh, yeah, you want that Thundering Spine back. Get in, buddy. 5/5.
And this is a huge one, huge turn here, because if we see Sigrist with no answer for the spine back, that thing will straight up take over. This is absolutely in hold territory for James. He's just sitting over there like, oh, just the once. He's using up his one time.
Hold the baby.
Hold the baby.
In come the vampires. Spine back jumps in front of 1. Oh, sure enough.
Wow, and he is maximum punished for that block.
Yeah, I mean, do you just do it or do you just take one more damage?
You just take one more.
Yeah, because cards like Fathom Fleet, Cutthroat, which destroys target creature an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn.
I mean,
it's
that's
common.
a huge loss for him.
Oh, it's enormous.
Yeah, it is such a savaging to lose your... I mean, he gets to untap and just have a 5/5 and a 4/4 with trample that he can block with. You just take the extra damage there instead. Even though, you know, you're not really fearing combat tricks at that point with a 5/5 blocking a 1/1.
No.
But you would fear that Cutthroat. And even though it's not a particularly great card, certainly did huge work for Sigrist here.
Right. Tashana's Wayfinder for James as well. Explores. Finds a spell, gets a counter. Definitely been impressed with what I've seen out of vampires so far this weekend. The synergy making cards like Skyblade of the Legion much better than just the 1/3 that it looks like on its face value. In swings the team for Sigrist. Tashana's Wayfinder blocks Bishop's Soldier.
James is all about calling. He's just like,
call. And Sigrist is always like, trick. Vampire Zeal there would give it +2/+2 and first strike.
Yeah, I mean, basically James was okay with that. He was basically saying, I'm okay with that. I don't know if he really was. Like, that's a pretty bad transaction for him. But, you know, Sigrist at this point is not trying to bluff James. Like, he blocked with his 1/1. Like, he's not... James is not the type of person to just, to not call your bluff there. So Sigrist knows that, and he's going to have it every time he ships on him.
Sigrist ties things up here at 1 game apiece versus James O'Shaughnessy. Steve Rubin currently up a game over Derek Campbell as well. Alexander Hain, of course, up a game over Matt Ling on table B. There's a look down in our feature match area. You can see our time walk table there on the left side of your screen. We'll get to watch those matches coming up later in this round.
Hey, it's Jamie.
It's Jamie. Hi, Jamie.
Team Topples.
She said hi to me as I was walking through
Must be
the venue.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nobody ever says hi to me.
Well, Marshall, if you weren't just so mean to everybody,
Have
you considered that?
I am that.
Okay.
I haven't really thought about it, though. It's kind of part of the whole mean thing.
Yeah,
You don't want to consider other people's feelings too much. Makes you soft.
Sailor of means.
See,
Speaking of.
Yeah.
There we go. 1/4 comes in with the treasure.
I got to say, matching up against a 2/1, it does look more like Mean Sailor.
Yeah, it sure does. Precluder.
That is a pretty annoying scenario there from Matt.
I never noticed the giant orc in the background of Sailor of Mean's arts there. He's just dropping some cash. into its hand. Both players here on blue-black pirates, which is one of the main tribes here on Ixalan. Matt Ling tapping 4. Headwater Sentries is a play, just a 2/5 merfolk. You thought you had a lot of toughness with 4, well, try 5. Prosperous Pirates for Haines will come along with 2 treasure.
Interesting that Haines' deck has played out pretty tempo aggressively generally, but here we see it playing a much more defensive role and looking pretty good for it too.
Haines has set up a pretty good wall on the ground. 3/4 and a 1/4. Daring Saboteur, however, able to break through any wall that Haines puts up for 3 mana. Becomes unblockable.
Steep cost, huh?
It does cost a lot, and it's a rare. When it does connect, however, you get to loot. I played that card in the 2-headed giant game I played with the command zone, Megan.
Game nights?
On game nights, yeah. One of the cards I was more excited to have in my deck, and then Atsakan Archers showed up and just fought it. And Saboteur down.
Who was it? Who did it?
Jimmy, of course.
Of course it was Jimmy.
Ugh. Water Trap Weaver here for Haines. It's going to ice down those sentries, giving the Prosperous Pirates a chance to hit the red zone.
And hey, why not? You know, that's not like a long-term plan, but that chip damage can certainly matter. Oh, looks like he wants to get chippy here, too. Did you even get to untap with your Daring Saboteur?
No.
No. Okay, so I can't ask you about how well it performed.
No, I did not even get a hit in.
All right.
It would have been fine. Sigrist-Hayne-Rubin, all with a win in their column. James O'Shaughnessy, the only player with a win currently for his team. Yeah, I built a white-blue deck that was kind of based on unblockability. So I was playing those Storm Sculptors, 3/2 unblockable, and cards like Settle the Wreckage and Pious Interdiction, that kind of thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty sweet deck that didn't play out how I hoped. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well.
Kite Sail
You ran
Freebooter.
into the buzzsaw that is Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy Buzzsaw Wong playing dinosaurs.
I usually just call him Jimmy Buzzkill Wong, but whatever. Similar.
All right, let's take a look at Alexander Haines' hand here, the freebooter, able to take a non-creature, non-land card from it, exile it until it leaves the battlefield. And he's got some options. As Haines had no creatures in hand, we have a Siren's Ruse, 2 Depths of Desire, and a Perilous Voyage.
Not too bad.
Bounce, 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 bounce.
No kidding. Bounce with me. What a weird situation.
And it's something like seeing all this bounce in hand, something you would expect from a blue-black deck?
You know, I'm not surprised to see it from Alex because of what we've seen from him so far.
Sure.
His deck plays out in that way, but generally, no. Generally, you would prefer to, to have more permanent answers for a more controlling deck, but that's just not what Alex's deck is about. It is a tempo aggressive deck. Aggressive might be strong, but, he's running Pirate's Cutlass and trying to get in with evasive creatures and keep you off balance. And that just hasn't been the way that this particular game's played out.
Siren's Ruse, probably always able to draw Haines a card in his deck, especially. That's Kitesail Freebooter is going to take Perilous Voyage and exile it. Another water trap weaver for Haines will lock down that shipwreck looter. Ling's entire team is tapped, allowing an attack with the prosperous pirates. And the other weaver for 5. Follow-up play on Wanted Scoundrels. Marshall and I did pose for the art on that card. Little known secret. There we are. We look great.
I'm the one on the left.
Yep. I like your 3 belts across the chest.
Thank you. I was trying something new that day. I did not know it was picture day.
Oh, did that ever happen to you? Not knowing it was picture day?
Hell yeah. I didn't. You don't want to see those pictures.
Yes, I do.
One day. I'm just glad you were wearing your good eye patch for picture day.
Oh, I was. I wasn't going to wear the shabby one.
Right.
This guy in the background, though, I don't know what he was doing there.
Yeah, he was like creeping on us, it looks like.
16-12, Haines over Ling.
Oh, I know what's going on. Look, that's our picture behind him. And he's just
and he's like,
wait, do I recognize them? Wow, this artwork really just told a story. Good job, Vulcanbug. You did it.
Steve Rubin, by the way, has picked up his match 2-0 over Derek Campbell. So if Haines is able to lock things up here, it would secure the win for his team. Same thing with Sigrist over on table A. Closer look there at Daring Saboteur. Able to get in for 2 unblockable if you pay 2 and a blue. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, loot, draw, and discard a card. Certainly helpful out later in the game as you search for relevant spells. Ling, I can see in hand a 1 with the wind, which we've seen quite a lot of this weekend. Mark of the Vampire as well. A couple of risky auras versus all that bounce from Haines.
Yeah, seriously, those auras are just horrendous against what Haines is putting together. We saw that hand with 3 bounce spells plus 1 for his. That's just not what you want to be doing.
Mark of the Vampire, when it sticks, really powerful, but
very big, yeah.
But so vulnerable.
Yeah, you want to play that generally against decks that have a hard time with high toughness creatures. Red burn spells often have a hard time killing a creature with Mark of the Vampire, and One with the Wind is just so efficient. It's just so cheap to get that thing down and start just beating down. The game can end before your opponent can even get under them. The card's been really impressive. Mark of the Vampire is much riskier.
All right, so there we see a Depths of Desire fired off by Haines, targeting those Headwater Sentries, wearing those wings, but a dive down from Ling. Gives the Sentries +0/+3 and hexproof until end of turn, but Ling does, in fact, know that Haines has another Depth of Desire in hand, and he's going to use it to bounce a freebooter. Yep. And that'll do it.
Bada boom.
Alexander Haines, 2-0 over Matt Ling. Gives the W to his team. Sigrist-Hayne-Rubin advance to 8-0 going into the final round here at Grand Prix Providence in terrific position for day 2. All right, we're going to take a look at table A since Sigrist and O'Shaughnessy are still playing it out.
Sigrist is out for blood today.
Oh yeah, he is. He hasn't ever scooped when his team has been victorious. He's like, no, we're playing it out.
Yeah, they got the first 6-0 I've ever seen.
That's right.
They both won at the same time.
Although it's just looking a little
slightly worse, perhaps.
Well, that contract killing was pretty important here for Sigrist. Taking down the Shining Aerosaur, using the treasure immediately to cast a Skymarch Bloodletter, leaving O'Shaughnessy with a 1/4 and a 2/2. Deeproot Warrior is going to attack, as well as Exalia's Diviner, getting in for 3. The Warrior, of course, when it becomes blocked, gets +1/+1. James will pass the turn back to Sigrist, who's got a couple of flyers in play. Skyblade of the Legion. What's been your favorite deck you've seen so far today, Marshall?
I've seen a few interesting ones. You know, the ones that have impressed me a lot have just been the big dinosaur decks. They've been so straightforward, red-green. For the most part, you know, we haven't seen the white as much in those type of builds. We've seen plenty of white dinosaurs, territorial hammer skulls and such in green-white. Green-white. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I've really favored the decks that are just super straightforward in the format so far. The ones that are trying to do cute things, I've been less high on, which is kind of a bummer because I like those type of decks, but we saw a handshake. I didn't actually see who won, though.
The life totals were both still fairly high.
Yeah, maybe they just decided it was sandwich o'clock.
It's always sandwich o'clock for you, Marshall. Well, it's time for you,
speaking of,
out there in listener and viewer land, to take a break for sandwich o'clock. If you so choose, we'll be back with more magic after these messages.